start with Whitney, and then we'll go around the room.
Hi, Whitney Clark, Director of the Division of Licensing Services.
Ayush Battle, Director of the Division of Consumer Protection.
Donna Zoller, Exam Development.
Mark Mastrugino, Bureau of Educational Standards.
Amy Penzining, Assistant Director.
Okay, hold on right there. Back there.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Toth with the New York State Association of Realtors.
Anthony Gatto, New York State Association of Realtors.
Mike Kelly, New York State Association of Realtors.
Duncan McKenzie, Board Member.
Dan Hartnett, Board Member, Berkshire Hathaway CNY Realty, Syracuse, New York.
Jody Dulala, Licensing.
Sharon Charlin, Licensing Board Coordinator.
Gentlemen.
Bill Manfred, Manfred Real Estate Learning Center.
John Manfred, Manfred Real Estate Learning Center.
Okay, Rochester.
Dave Rumsey, Board Member.
David Dworkin, Board Member.
New York.
Sandra
City.
Erickson, Board Member.
Joe Berko, Board Member.
Jeremy Schildkraut from DFS here for Maria Bula.
Tricia O'Connor Francis, Board Member.
Dave Mossberg, Department of State.
Ernita Gant, Department of State.
Diane Ramirez, Board Member.
Okay, good morning, and I am Charles Fields, Deputy Secretary.
We have
Sorry, did I miss someone?
There's some guests on the side.
Oh, I couldn't see them. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Eileen Toss, Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors.
Neil Garfinkel, Broker Counsel to REBNY.
Phil Wyden, Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors.
Okay, anyone else in New York City?
No, that's it.
Okay, and I am Charles Fields, Deputy Secretary of State for New York, overseeing corporations and licensing. It sounds like we have a quorum. Do we need to go through the roll call?
Good.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, so we have a quorum. First up on the agenda, the enforcement report. Ernita.
Okay, I'd like to share 2 items with the board today. I'd like to give an update on where we're at with the vision of housing and community renewals with the discrimination cases. We have, in our partnership with them in addressing discrimination cases that are filed with us, we are working with the CHR, and they are taking the lead on this. Now, we have referred to them about 5 complaints that have been filed with us against our licensees. Now, how we're working with the partnership is that they're doing the investigation to establish whether or not there is a violation under their statute on discrimination. And then if it's determined that there's some kind of concern, then they will forward it to us. So we referred 5 files to them already, and we're waiting a response on those 5 files. Since we started with this program, they have sent over 2 files to us. 1 file, there was not a determination, but there was a settlement agreement, and on the basis of them settling it, we will then look into it to establish whether or not we need to act on it. And then the other case that they sent over to us, there was no violation found, and we looked at it and we closed it out as well. So those were the 2 referrals that we did act on that we received from the CHR. And I would also like to share with you a noteworthy investigation that the Department of State Licensing Services did against one of our licensed real estate broker companies. We had a complaint that was filed and relative to a civil matter, a judgment, unrelated to any real estate practices. So when we addressed the complaint with the respondent, he provided evidence that he satisfied the judgment and that the matter was resolved. And looking at it further, we felt that we wanted to get a little further information on the file so that we could determine whether or not there were some issues relative to our statute. He refused to provide any further information on the basis that he satisfied the judgment. He let us know he satisfied the judgment, and then he felt that at that point we should not have ask for anything other than that. So, and then he said if we did, then we should actually issue a subpoena. So we had a hearing on the basis that he refused to cooperate with our request for information, and the Department of State won the hearing. He appealed the hearing on the basis that, on 3 points. The first point was that he already complied with providing evidence that he satisfied the judgment. The second point was that if we did want to get additional information, we should have issued a subpoena, then therefore providing, shifting that burden on the Department of State. And the third point was the matter was civil, and we shouldn't have no jurisdiction in it. To say the least, he lost the appeal. And the opinion was that he was charged with failure to cooperate with the department, not the civil matter and not the issue of the subpoenas, but he failed to cooperate with the department. And under the statute says that you should cooperate with the department when we inquire. So I just thought that was a nice worthy matter to address. And that's my report.
Thank you for sharing.
A question.
Hey.
Because he didn't cooperate, what happened?
Any questions?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, we have one here.
Since he failed to cooperate, what happens to his license?
I think it was he was a suspension.
Okay, Rochester, any questions for Anita?
What was the basis of the complaint?
The complaint was that a judgment was filed against him in a civil matter on relative to property that he owned. So the complainant was renting from him, and a judgment. We didn't even address the judgment because again the issue wasn't about the judgment. The issue was about him cooperating with the department. So, but the complaint was filed on the basis that a tenant of his won a civil judgment and wanted it to be satisfied. By the time we investigated, it was satisfied, and he submitted proof that it was satisfied.
Thank you.
Albany, any questions on Anita's report? All right, next on the agenda, education. Mark.
The Education Subcommittee, along with Bureau staff, has come up with a 1-hour course outline for licensee safety, which is being added to the real estate salesperson syllabus. We added this as a 19th section in the syllabus list and reduced property insurance from 2 hours to 1 hour in order to make room for this added subject matter. There is no change to the content of the property insurance section. However, it's being compressed from 2 hours to 1 hour, which I believe everyone was in agreement is something that was doable for this. This 1 hour of licensee safety is required once the regulation changes have been formally approved. And it's my understanding that if all of you are in agreement, that we'll go ahead with this and add it to the syllabus. Of course, all schools will be notified of this change once we're sure that this is taking place. And if anyone has any questions or has any, is in disagreement with any of the subjects, they're all. We looked at many different licensee safety courses that are out there. Of course, it's a very important issue at this time. There's been some things that happened around the country in the real estate industry that certainly illustrated the importance of this. So we really did a laundry list of all of the most common sense safety issues that would relate to the real estate industry. So I'm hoping everyone is in agreement with that and that we can move forward. Thank you.
You did a great job, Mark. Do you need a motion to advance this?
No, I think we're going to take care of that under the action items.
Okay, terrific.
Questions, Albany? Questions for Mark? None. New York City, any questions for Mark on the education?
No.
Rochester, questions on the education?
No questions here.
No.
Okay. Action items. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 3rd and September 20th?
Motion to approve.
Seconds?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Dave Mossberg on the regulation changes.
Yes, back on September 28th, the Department of State proposed changes to several sections of the broker and salesperson regulations. In the packet of materials board members received, the rules here on page 79. What we had proposed was amending 175.1 regarding commingling of monies and how long deposits should be held. Amendment of 175.7 regarding disclosure from the client prior to accepting money. Relating to Mark's discussion on the license safety, amending 176.3 to allow for a 1-hour license safety course. Amendment of 177.3 to allow 1 hour of instruction as opposed to 3. Similar change in terms of computation of time to 177.7. And finally, an amendment to 175.25 requiring licensees disclose on business cards the license type, so either licensed salesperson, associate broker, corporate broker, etc. That notice of proposal was published, as I said, on September 28th. The comment period has since expired. I have not received any additional comments or recommendations or changes following notice of publication. Therefore, if the board still wants to advance these, the board can make a motion, and then we can file notice of adoption. The rule would be published 2 weeks after we file. In theory, if we file today or tomorrow, the rule should be in effect mid-January. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for David? Albany, questions? Rochester, questions?
None here.
No.
New York City, any questions for David?
No questions.
Can I get a motion to approve the regulation change?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, next up on the agenda, new business, paperless records. Whitney Clark.
We received an interesting request for a legal opinion from Kathy Nolan from the Long Island Board of Realtors about electronic records and cloud-based storage. Which, you know, we're all trying to get away from the paper-based records. So according to Kathy, more and more brokerages are wanting to go to a cloud-based method of storing their real estate records. So we actually had David do some research for us on it. And Dave, could you share your research with the board, please?
Yes. So what we actually found was there's actually a provision already existing in Title 19. It's 175.23. It provides that each licensed broker shall keep and maintain for a period of 3 years paper and/or electronic records. Based on that, as well as I found related or corresponding provisions both under the CPLR and state technology law, which would basically allow a business to provide an electronic record of a prior paper copy record if the business sort of has certain protections. So for example, they would have somebody in the business organization be able to testify that, you know, the system that they use makes an accurate reproduction of the original paper copy, and that the systems that they use prevent any sort of alteration without that being discovered. And in those instances where businesses are able to sort of satisfy that test, the electronic paper copy is usually deemed admissible the same way the original paper copy would have. It sort of supplants what's usually called the best evidence rule. So looking at our own rule 175.23 plus what already exists under the CPLR as well as the state technology law, it seems to suggest, or it seems to be an appropriate conclusion, that licensees, if they have sort of adequate safeguards, they can say, this is a paper copy that we received during this transaction, we stored, this is how we store it, and we know that it's not altered. It should comply both with our reg as well as other provisions of, applicable New York law. And so that seems, the answer to the question is they can do it, but that would be the way that they should be doing it, sort of a best practice.
Does anyone have any questions for David?
All right, thank you, David. Okay, public comment period.
I could just have another question for Dave.
Sure.
Could we get an update on the cease and desist review for the Bronx, Queens, and Rockland?
We're still working on evaluating all the data. We hope to finish that process rather in reasonable time. I know that the last time looking at the prior registers, there was almost a year lapse from when the hearings were held and when we collected the data before determination was made to actually file anything in the register. So I think looking at past practices, I feel confident that we'll probably be able to make a decision within the prior timeline. But currently we're still looking at everything that we've gathered from those locations.
Thank you.
All right, so public comment period. Let's start with Rochester. Any comments?
There's no one in the stands here.
Okay. New York City?
Yeah. David, it's Neil Garfinkel. Will you be responding to Kathy's request in a formal letter? And if so, can you share that with us?
Yes.
Thank you.
She wanted to say something?
No, I'll wait until I finish.
Okay.
Anyone else in New York City?
Okay. I have a few things that I just want to bring up, just for us to think about, because I'm doing real estate every day. I'm talking to other real estate professionals, and I'm in the community. So my first question is with the cease and desist list. I noticed that only certain areas are able to go on the cease and desist list, and there are other residents who are looking for it to be expanded to their neighborhoods, but when they try to submit it online, it never comes up on the report. Is there another method they have to go through?
Well, Charles, is it okay if I answer that question?
Yes.
So currently there are no valid or active cease and desist zones anywhere in the state of New York. So the Department of State has held public hearings in certain geographic areas to evaluate what evidence exists to determine if it's appropriate to create a cease and desist list. So these areas included, for example, Bronx and some parts of Queens. So we're reviewing all that data now to determine if the Secretary finds it appropriate to create that geographic area. And if in the event that area is created, then any homeowner in that area could file and then.
And it could only be in those areas.
Correct.
That's not good.
It's based upon the evidence that the Secretary receives evidencing that those geographic areas are subject to intense and repeated solicitations, and so.
Well, if they want to come check my neighborhood, they can, because they're having that tremendously. No one has access about that. So over there, they're being, especially by, I know investors cannot hold because they're not licensed, but they're getting a lot of complaints. If you come out to the community boards, which I'm part of, they're getting a lot of complaints of solicitations it's not wanted.
I mean, that could potentially be something that the department would consider in the future. But based on the evidence that we've currently received, the areas that are principally being focused on are certain parts of Queens and certain parts of the Bronx.
Okay, I have two more questions. Next one is there are a lot of unlicensed people practicing real estate. Unbelievable. Like everywhere I go, I mean, I get 10 calls a day from people who have real estate questions, and they're dealing with unlicensed people. Or I can't tell you how many times I go to open houses and there are unlicensed assistants running the open houses, and the agent is nowhere around. And when I listen to them, they are giving false information. They have no idea what they're talking about when they're talking real estate. And this is information that they're giving to consumers that they're basing to put in offers and purchase this property, and the information is false. And I'm not chiming in because that's not my client, that's not my customer, that's their situation, but this is what they're doing.
I mean, are any complaints filed about this unlicensed activity?
You know what? Some of the consumers don't want to file because
They don't know any better.
They don't know any better. The agents and the brokers are doing it because they know they can get away with it, so that's why they do it. So like I said, the consumers don't know better, right? So they don't know what it takes to be licensed. They don't know.
I was going to bring that up as well. In the South Bronx, there's a very, we have a really hot neighborhood there, and I've seen two people that say they're brokers, or I'll look at their card and I'll say, well, where's your office address, or are you a licensed broker or an agent? I mean, salesperson. What? Oh, well, my office doesn't care that I have my card like that. And then I found others that are just not licensed and saying, here, I can rent your apartments for you, or I can do this or that, because sometimes in some of these emerging neighborhoods, people want to get in on the action and don't bother getting licensed. Right. So where can people call? Where's the best place for people to call? People have come to me and asked, but I'm not.
Well, you could go on our website, and there is
like
on
a
the
hotline?
website it tells you. It tells you how to file a complaint if you want to file a complaint.
But I think we can get that out to people that we know, so they can, if they sense that someone is not licensed. But like you're saying, a lot of times the public doesn't know. Someone says, I'm a broker, I'm a realtor, I'm an agent. They just assume that they're licensed.
Well, we do also go out and we audit different licensed brokers, because we could only audit the licensed brokers, but we're going to be stepping up on auditing more businesses to find out, who's out there and who's working for particular companies. But again, we would encourage that if you know about this, you could file a complaint with us so that we can address it.
So if someone's acting as a licensed agent and isn't, in fact, do you have authority over?
No, we don't, but sometimes we try to get them to become licensed if they're eligible. We again try to get compliance that way, as opposed to enforcing.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if it's actions by an unlicensed person, it falls under the Attorney General.
Okay.
My last suggestion is that, once again, I teach real estate and I'm doing a lot of real estate, and I being in the business for probably 16, 17 years now, I hold my profession very dear to me, and I think we should probably consider licensees not being able to take the exam until they actually finish the course, like some of the other states in New Jersey or whatever the case is, and also consider moving the exam to an online, a computerized exam, because I'm speaking to these people who are taking the tests, and it's a joke for them. It is, come on, we've been in the business for a long time. It is an absolute joke for people to get their license now. Some people don't even finish the course. Someone told me in my course last night that they go somewhere and they pay someone for their license and for their passing. And there's people that have said stuff that they've taken the course, they've never completed it, and they still went and got their license because they're checking that box. So if there was some type of system, when I spoke about this before, where the schools actually have to manually put in that they've completed. So if this licensee tries to get a license, it's a red flag that they didn't complete it, or they didn't complete the CE. I know there's audits being done, but we need straight checks and balances, because people laugh at me. People laugh at me that they can take the test, they don't have to take the class.
Can you expand on your comment where you said people have come up to you and told you that they pay and have someone get their license for them? Can you expand on that?
Someone told me in my class yesterday, I teach real estate, someone told me in my class yesterday that they're taking my course because it's me teaching them and because they want to know the information. But someone told them that they can go somewhere, I think in Queens, and pay some money and get a certificate that they've completed their class. I turned to the student and I said, well, how do they pass the state exam? You still need the knowledge, you need the information, right? And it's just because the system is just very easy. You can take the test, the state exam, at any point. The state exam is super easy. The state exam is Scantron. Whereas if you go somewhere across the ocean in New Jersey, you have to take it on a computerized, it's questions that's popping up. Our exams are totally different from each other. You cannot take the exam until you have passed the course, and then we have professionals who come into the business who take it seriously. We take our profession seriously. This is what put food on our table, right? This is what we're retiring from. But there are some people who come in the business and take it as a joke because they know it's so easy for them to get.
Okay, so I mean, that's something that we can certainly look into. The point about getting a fraudulent certificate from the school, that's something that needs to be dealt with the school in terms of that person, or if you know about it, filing a complaint against the school saying that, hey, this needs to be looked into, there are fraudulent certificates coming out of X school.
Well, I don't know.
So that's certainly that we can investigate.
They didn't tell me specifically, and I know the students are not going to, report it because they want to, whoever's going to them want those licenses. They want to get into real estate as soon as possible. So with bypassing the education part. So I'm not going to be able to find out, but I think if we just had more checks and balances.
Well, we do random audits.
Right.
Every month we're doing audits of real estate brokers and real estate salespersons. And we then at that point when we're conducting the audits, we ask them to provide their certificates. And if we find that you didn't, you can't provide a certificate, then there is penalties for that. So, we conduct audits every month.
So they have to finish the course. So you just check the box that you finished the course, but you don't have to prove that you took the course to take the test.
Yeah.
Okay.
The onus is on the school itself to
send in to
send
the
it
Department
in.
of
Is
State.
that how it usually works? How does it?
They just check the box saying that they completed the course. I
So
don't.
a
Maybe
student would
the
admit,
schools.
so a student would admit or certify that he finished the course and then will file to take the test. Is that how it works?
No,
Can someone maybe explain to us
where
how
does
it
the
works?
school-
I know there's some people from a school there, so they take the class and then.
explain it like teacher.
Okay, we have someone from the school that's going to talk about it.
When a salesperson goes through a licensing course, the schools are required to report the completion to the Department of State within 15 business days. When a student then Department of State doesn't care what order you do it in, so this the 75-hour course is a requirement for the education, the state exam, pass the state exam, and then apply for the license. So I can talk to the whole e-access. I do know that you can apply for a license on e-access without having the education, because all you do is check a box saying you did it.
He provides a course code, you provide the school that you went to.
Right,
And
you
then we
put the
get those
course,
lists and we can do a comparison to make
Right.
sure that who they're saying, where they say they went
Right.
is on that list. So we use that as a means of validating education.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably, if somebody wanted to apply for a license for real estate, they can easily.
Pretty bold,
access
but
and do it.
Does it make
Done,
sense to not be able to take the test till
Yeah.
you finished it?
I don't know.
Then the check on the other end is that we do the audit, and if we find that someone doesn't have a certificate, they're penalized for not having a certificate.
Okay. But it is basically an honor system.
100% correct.
I think it's important to note that the Bureau of Educational Standards has conducted qualifying audits in the past as well. And in one particular year, we audited every online application. We actually reached out to the schools, provided them lists of who had claimed to have taken their course, and I don't have a total, but over 1,000 records, we found 3 individuals who did not take the course that they claimed to have taken, and 2 of those 3 were cases where they took the old 45-hour sales course but claimed the new 75-hour course, and they were taken to hearings, showed up with the 30-hour certificate after the fact. So we certainly did not find a widespread abuse of this online system.
Thank you for sharing the statistics. I think that's very important.
Yeah, very important.
Okay. Any more comments? Albany?
I have a question. It's Diane Ramirez speaking. I was unable to attend the September 20th meeting. I was out of the country, and there was an action to be taken at that meeting where I had said I would give some specific information of a suggestion to add to the DLS complaint form. And I have the information with me. On the complaint form, the number I think is 1507. There is no place for a company to file a complaint against an agent of their own that has done something inappropriate. So I would love to have that added where a firm could actually report to the Department of State when you're letting an agent go for something that you think there should be a suspension or a revocation. I don't want it to be done against other companies, but I think for our own agents, when we see something egregious, I think it would be helpful if the complaint form had a place for us to report our own. And I'm happy to send it directly to whomever for you to review if you like.
Could you send that to Whitney Clark, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Any more comments?
Will you take questions from the public?
Yes, that was the public.
There's
yes,
a question if the public could submit a question.
Yeah, I'd like to address what you were talking about the schools. I'm the education director for the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors, and I've heard a lot of horror stories about other schools that have the 2-tiered tuition system where one you actually attend the class, one you don't. It would help an awful lot if the schools were tracked on the state exam. So you could see exactly what the students are learning when they come out of the class. I know that we have a really high pass rate once our students get to the state exam, and again, because we track them. But we don't have a very high pass rate in terms of what other schools are doing. We've probably got a 30% failure rate the first time around, and it's because it's open enrollment. There are schools that guarantee passing, and I know that their final exam, not their final exam, their review, is actually a review of the final exam that they're going to give in the next 10 minutes. And again, I'm having a problem with the standards once these people are let loose on the public, because it's far too easy to get a license by circumventing the system, and it would help if the state would track the schools to find out what their actual pass rate is on the state exam.
Hi. Albany, comments? Rochester, comments?
Do we have any idea how many schools there are that would be up for tracking?
It's around 200, give or take. We have a lot of schools are maintained on our system that have closed, and of course for future students that have taken those courses. So I'd have to kind of get back to you with a more accurate figure, but we have approximately 200 active schools in our system. or schools
helpful.
that are available for a student to select as their school of attendance. And I'll certainly
Thank
look
you.
into that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next agenda item is something that we wanted to throw out to everyone here. We're proposing meeting dates for 2017 to make it easier on us here at the state and all of you with your calendars. So we're proposing 3 meetings, and then if we do need meetings in between as things come up, we will obviously schedule those on an ad hoc basis. You don't have to decide now, but if you could definitely get back to us in
2 weeks.
2 weeks, back to Sharon.
Or sooner.
The first one's going to be April 12th, 2017. The second one would be September 13th, 2017. And then the third one would be December 6th, 2017. So get back to Sharon, let us know if that works. If we get feedback that it works, we will obviously publish that before the end of the year, so that everyone can mark their calendars and we can get this scheduled. I think it'll be a little bit more efficient for everyone. Okay.
Will Sharon send an email to that effect with those dates, or should we reach out
Sure,
to
I
Sharon?
can. No, I can send them out.
Good idea.
And consequently, do you use any electronic program, any Doodle? There's a couple of great ones. I can maybe send you a link. It kind of like takes a poll. No, it takes a poll between all the individuals, and it really gives you the majority.
So we can use voting buttons on Outlook in the response. Oh,
we,
you're not now. We could use SurveyMonkey. There you go. We'll get it out to you guys.
Put it down.
All right. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Rochester?
Just as it relates to the December 6th date, if the plan is alternating for us between Buffalo and Rochester, the 6th would be our Buffalo trip, and we're both away those earlier part of that week for the ICSC show in Manhattan. So if we're going to stick with the 6th, we'd prefer Rochester for the 6th date.
Okay.
Because that'll be our travel back date.
All right. No, I think so. ICC is right.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Rochester, anything?
Nothing.
Nope.
We're good.
New York City.
No.
Albany. All right. There are no comments, questions, concerns. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? So second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Now David's going to do the public hearing session. Dave?
Yes, thank you. RPL 442I subdivision 6 requires that the department hold at least 3 times a year public hearings in the city of New York, Buffalo, or Albany, and Albany. The purpose of these meetings is to solicit from members of the public suggestions, comments, or observations about real estate practice in the state of New York. And so to comply with the statutory obligation, we are holding one of those meetings now. And so I guess I'll just go around the various locations to see if there are any members from the public who would wish to share their thoughts or suggestions or comments regarding real estate practice. So in New York City, does anyone wish to say anything? Any of the public members in Albany wish to say anything? Nope. And, well, I guess since we don't have Buffalo.
Rochester.
Right. Guess nothing there either. So I guess this concludes the statutorily required public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.